We have some new information that has come out about Kyle Rittenhouse. Also, Jacob Blake, some new pretty shocking information we're going to go over today. The internet has located the man who fired the first shot prior to Kyle Rittenhouse firing his first shot. So a video has surfaced online showing a man firing a gun into the air as people chased Kyle Rittenhouse prior to the very first shooting. Then, of course, this led to the second shooting where people chased him down the street, multiple people. A mob, once again, chased him down the street. One guy was illegally possessing a handgun. You knew that. And then this led to the second shots, the second round of shots being fired by Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, Poll has claimed to have identified the shooter, so we'll go reportedly, allegedly for now. And a couple of pieces of information are kind of funny about this particular shooter, so we're going to go over that next. I also want to get to a couple of new stories that have come out about Kyle Rittenhouse. It has been completely dispelled, the rumor, the notion, the idea that Kyle Rittenhouse was traveling across state lines to participate in this protest has been completely dispelled by the lawyer for Kyle Rittenhouse, who is L. Linwood. He was one of the lawyers for the Covington Catholic kids. We're going to go through that story as well as a bunch of other information too. So new information has come out. We're going to go through all of that today. Before we get started, I just want to remind you, we are doing the show live on DLive, Monday through Friday. I couldn't do it live today, but make sure to go over to dlive.tv/Vincent James, click the follow button up here, and replays down here will be available. Then they get deleted after 1 or 2 days, and then they're permanently available up on Subscribestar or Patreon at this level here. So you get access to all of the exclusive content on Subscribestar or Patreon. Subscribestar is the same thing as Patreon. It's just available for people who don't want to support on Patreon. So make sure to check the links in the description below and follow me over there. Support me over there if you can. So let's get to this. I want to get to the first bit of this, which is a video. And I posted this on my Telegram channel. And this shows the first shooter, the man who fired the first shot. So let's take a look at that right now.
Them is white boys.
Them is white boys. There's Kyle Rittenhouse. It circles him there, highlights him.
Yeah,
and he's
Antifa,
followed by...
Oh, we got a gun, baby.
This guy here, who fires his handgun into the air as these people chase Kyle Rittenhouse.
Ooh.
And of course, if he didn't defend himself, there's a major potential that this guy could be dead. So this just goes to show you that he was even more fearful for his life being chased by this mob, that this was an even more credible threat, because as he's running away, as he's showing retreat, he doesn't know who has this gun. He doesn't know if these people are actually firing shots at him. Now, here's a bit of interesting information. Welcome to Poll, by the way. This is I Need a Personal Army. This guy fired the first shot in the Kyle shooting. Poll found out who they are and found their Pornhub account. What is it with, like, all of these recent racialized and sensationalized news stories where we find out that the guy is like an amateur porn star? We saw this with George Floyd. Big Floyd. Other social media won't allow these to trend, but you know who doesn't give an F? Pornhub. So let's get this video to trend. And so they give the links there. And I posted the link to this actual poll post on my Telegram channel if you'd like. And so they show this picture here, Kenosha handgun man and his backpack girl, Kyle Rittenhouse. And so that's very, very, very important in this particular case. There's also a bunch of other information that is extremely important in this case that I got wrong myself, and I try really hard to do my research to make sure that I get whatever I can correct. But, you know, one of the things that I thought was true was that Kyle Rittenhouse actually traveled across state lines in order to participate with this, like, militia group in this protest to protect businesses and things like this, because we saw that video. We saw that video of him describing that he was there to protect this business behind him and so forth. But that wasn't initially even why he went to Kenosha in the first place. Kyle Rittenhouse was actually working as a lifeguard in Kenosha the day of the shooting, went to clean vandalism at a school after work. So this is all according to his lawyer. His lawyer is dispelling all of these media myths, and I have a feeling that once Kyle Rittenhouse gets off for self-defense, these mainstream media companies are going to be paying big time bucks, boku bucks, to Kyle Rittenhouse and his family, who the mob is attempting to lynch right now. When you start manufacturing facts to support false accusations, you get into trouble under the law of defamation. Kyle did not carry a gun across state lines. The gun belonged to his friend, a Wisconsin resident. The gun never left the state of Wisconsin. So what I can say is that my advice still stands. I mean, don't go to these riots and protests. I mean, if you're protecting a business or a home, that's completely fine. But it was first said that he was traveling across state lines to go to a protest, to participate in a riot, conspiracy to riot, right? This is the typical charge that they get people on, but that's not true. He was working as a lifeguard. And then it was also said that he had this gun and brought this gun illegally across state lines. And this was still spread by the mainstream media. But once again, thank goodness for social media, because we're able to combat this mainstream media narrative once again. Thank goodness for his lawyer, who has a social media account, because he's able to combat this mainstream media narrative once again, just like with the Coming to Catholic kids. And this is, if he's wiped off of Twitter, when does the word get out? Who finds out about the word? If we're all gone from these social media sites, how does this word ever spread? And this is one of the reasons why the GOP needs to get it through their thick geriatric skulls that social media censorship needs to be the top issue to them. Needs to be the top issue above everything else. Or at least the top 5 issues, right, to the GOP. But it's nowhere on the Trump agenda for 2020. Now, there's another article that just came out from the dailymail.com. Jacob Blake was armed with a knife and put one cop in a headlock during fight with officers before he was shot as police responded to a 911 call from his girlfriend, claims Kenosha Police Union. And so this is one of the major reasons why he was chained to the hospital bed just up until a couple of days ago or last night. We also have this story here. The cops involved in the shooting of Jacob Blake, which touched off a fresh wave of angry anti-police sentiment across the country, were attempting to arrest him for violating a restraining order stemming from an alleged sexual assault, the Post had learned. And so you have to understand, Blake's girlfriend called the police on him. We knew this, right? We knew this. We also knew that from the Associated Press report, the police yelled out for him to drop the knife. So he had a knife. He had the police in a headlock. They tried to use tasers on him. Didn't work. He was fighting with police. He was scuffling with police, but everyone's judging off of this 14-second clip because either they're being dishonest or they're just they just don't have the intelligence necessary to process information and come to an actual sensible conclusion. Now, here's the big part of this. Is that remember when we were talking about the sexual assault charge that Blake had on his record? This is completely confirmed, by the way. And by the way, the victims of Kyle Rittenhouse, 2 of them all 3 of them had criminal charges, but of course GoFundMe allows them to raise money and post their GoFundMe link for them and donates to those GoFundMe links. But one of them in particular was a sex offender, a child sex offender, but they're of course propping him up as a martyr because these people are demons. She told cops Blake then used his finger to sexually assault her, sniffed it, and then said, "Smells like you've been with other men," the criminal complaint alleges. So this is the guy that they're propping up as a martyr. This is the guy that the NBA stars are talking about. We just saw a couple of NBA stars come out and say, well, I'm afraid to be a black man. I'm afraid to be a black man in America. This is what these people are saying, when obviously we know that the complete opposite of this is true. But of course, a lot of people know this, but they're too afraid to come out and say this. I mean, you see Drew Brees put Jacob Blake's name on his helmet. Like, really? Like, is this really what you believe in? Or are you just too cowardly to come out and start telling the truth and say, well, hey, listen, I'm not going to let the demographic that commits half of the homicide in the country while only making up 6% of the population, black males, I'm not going to let black males who only make 6% of the who only make up 6% of the population, commit 50% of the homicides in the country, 90% of the gun homicides in Chicago and other metropolitan areas in the country. I'm not going to let them claim to be the victims. I'm not going to let black males who commit the highest rate of rape in the country, the highest rate of hate crimes in the country. By the way, two black men were just charged with hate crimes. We went over that story before this one. In 2 separate incidents, the media is completely silent. I'm not going to let them claim to be the victim. But people aren't coming out and telling the truth. A lot of people don't know this because the media has the power to change the perception of reality of millions of Americans. and just completely gaslight people. But then there are a lot of people, like I think Drew Brees is a pretty intelligent person, but he still has the Jacob Blake thing on his helmet. We still let these basketball stars claim that black Americans are the victims in this country in 2020. Furthermore, lastly, I want to get to we went over this full debate on my let me just pause this out here. We went over this full debate on my live stream on dlive.tv/Vincent James. I think it's permanently available up on Subscribestar and Patreon right now. But this was one clip that was posted to Twitter, which I did not notice while we were going through this. And this is basically representative of most of what you see from Antifa. When I say that this is representative of most Antifa members that you see in America, it's because this person grew up extremely sheltered. This person never had to struggle a day in his life. His parents they live in Beverly Hills, California, Hollywood Hills, California. He's probably going to be receiving a pretty substantial inheritance very shortly here. He's never had to struggle a day in his life. He's never really experienced reality. And this clip really shows you exactly what I mean here. So let's take a listen to this clip.
But all I know is I've seen a lot of Marvel movies, and in the part where the good guy gets framed and he turns around and there are a bunch of angry cops and civilians staring at him, he drops the gun and puts his hand up in the air, and he doesn't fucking unleash the fucking Iron Man laser and cut down 300 people who are threatening him implicitly by surrounding him and not allowing him free access out. So maybe that's
in real life, if you spend a lot of time on Live Leaks or Ogrish or any other like gore site, you can see that where one guy throws his hands up and a mob comes up and somebody throws one punch that kills him, and then people cut his intestines out and they drag it over the street. So I mean, like, I don't know. I guess
typically happens in the United States.
It's not a matter of it typically happening. I mean, like, there have been people that have been killed in these protests and riots so far. And I mean, like, who's to say that you're not going to be the next? Like, I don't know.
I mean, there have been at least 20 Marvel movies. I doubt you can find that many live leak videos of people being killed. So yeah, I'll hinge my bet.
So that is what you get when you have someone who is extremely sheltered in life, who basically never leaves his computer, not in touch with reality at all. As I said, never had to struggle a day in his life, and is just being completely dishonest in this entire thing. He argued that Kyle Rittenhouse should have submitted to the mob because the threat was not that serious, because he had no way of knowing if anyone was going to kill him, and they probably weren't going to kill him, and so therefore his argument was, in final, for Kyle and others like him to completely submit to the mob, because at him open carrying this rifle, and this is what he said during this debate, he already turned into the aggressor. Now, of course, we saw hundreds of the NFAC members, the Black Nationalist Militia group, marching. They all had open carry. They were all open carrying rifles. And of course, if some white counter-protester ran up to them and started chasing them down the street and they showed retreat first, I'm sure Vaush wouldn't feel the same way. But I also want to point out one other clip here very quickly. And this is Vaush once again lying.
So many alt-right murders every day now that I don't have to get too invested in any given one.
So many alt-right murders every day now that I can't keep up. And this really stems from his claim during one of his videos a couple of weeks ago where he said that Garrett Foster was killed by a far-right terrorist with no evidence whatsoever to make this claim. This is the claim that he made. But the truth is that the group that commits the highest per capita domestic terror attacks aside from Islamists are black nationalists, according to data from the Department of Homeland Security. We have this data. We've been over this data many times with you before on the show. Almost every clip that I've seen from this guy is either a blatant lie or just purely being oblivious due to his heavily sheltered life. So it's either him lying about, white nationalist terror attacks because he gets his information from the mainstream media, or him lying about what happened in Kenosha, or him lying about whatever other thing, and yet people still follow his channel, and yet he still has an audience. But I will say this to end. He gets a lot of dislikes on his videos. There are a few videos where he gets more dislikes than likes, and you don't really see that with too many YouTubers that are actually that are actually praised and popular and that people listen to get true information from. He's sort of become like a meme almost. But that's what I have for you on all of the new information that has come on. I just wanted to correct a couple of things that I was wrong on. From the rising of the sun to its setting, may the name of the Lord be praised. From the rising of the sun to its setting, may the name of the Lord be praised. His splendor reaches far beyond the heavens. May the name of the Lord be praised. Glory to the Father. May the name of the Lord be praised. And so if you want to follow me on, if you're watching, I think you're watching this probably on BitChute for the most part. But once again, make sure to tune into the live show Monday through Friday, dlive.tv/VincentJames. Support me on Subscribestar or Patreon. And at the middle level, for $5 a month, you can get access to all of the deleted DLive streams and exclusive content. See you over there. My goal is to eventually become a powerhouse of truth. That is why it is imperative that you check the links in the description below and go to either Patreon and Subscribestar and support us for at least the cost of a cup of coffee a month. We already have writers writing for TheRedElephants.com, but we'd like to bring on more in the near future. By the way, at TheRedElephants.com, you can also find t-shirts, hats, and other products. Check the links in the description below. It helps us out tremendously.